There are a lot of places where you could start the story of the 1990 football season. Sure, we could start it with the ending or borrowed shoes or snaps through the end zone. We could talk about dominant talent, the huge crowds, the defense. Let's be honest though, the story starts, as most do when you talk about Lycoming college football, with Frank Girardi. By the dawn of this third decade at the helm of the Warriors, it was his force of will, vision, and upbeat attitude that he had led to 5 MAC titles and 2 appearances in the NCAA Division III Championship. Now Lycoming was entering the heart of a golden era unlike any other. Expectations were high entering the new decade. The Warriors went 10-2 and reached the NCAA Division III quarterfinals in 1989 and returned 4 preseason All-Americans to the squad the next August, and cornerback Rick Beeler, quarterback Ed Dougherty, linebacker Bill Small, and running back Troy Erdman. So it wasn't a big surprise when Lycoming, ranked 3rd in the nation in Football Digest preseason ranking, dispatched Keene 30-20 in the opener, as Dougherty, in the first game of his junior year, set the school record for career completions. Matt Harvey scored 3 touchdowns the next week in a 33-21 win over Delaware Valley, and the defense held firm with a late goal line stand and a 17-0 win over Lebanon Valley, setting up a showdown with rival Widener. The Warriors entered the fourth quarter down a touchdown to the Pioneers and without Erdman, the team's top running back who was injured in the first quarter. Midway through the period, Dougherty found backup tailback Corey Sheridan for a 4-yard over-the-shoulder catch to tie the game. Later, Widener took over at its own 20-yard line, and the first snap from the shotgun flew over the quarterback's head and rolled into the end zone, where it was down for a Warrior safety. Lycoming closed out the 16-14 win from there. The next week, the Warriors dominated undefeated Juniata 31-0, as the defense allowed 46 total yards in the win. More dominant wins followed against Moravian and Albright, setting the stage for a showdown with Susquehanna, the one MAC team that had beaten the Warriors the previous 2 years. In 1990, though, it wasn't close. 17-0 at the half, 23-6 as the final buzzer sounded. John Phillips tied a school record with 3 made field goals in the win. Susquehanna finished with 65 total yards gained. Already MAC champs, the Warriors still had one more regular season game, and a loss to one-win Wilkes would likely knock them out of the 16-team field of the NCAA Championship. Despite a rainy field, the Warriors did enough on offense and used a 67-yard punt return for a score from Rick Beeler for a 14-0 win. It was the program's second undefeated regular season, and the Warriors moved from 4th in the South region to 2nd in the last week of the season, helping it move into a position to host Carnegie Mellon in the first round of the NCAAs. A fourth quarter stop at their own 26 led to a dominating drive that ended with a 21-yard field goal from Phillips, giving Lycoming a 17-7 win. In the South Region Championship, the Warriors took a drive to the southwest corner of the state and came back with a 24-0 win over Washington and Jefferson, racking up 5 turnovers in the dominant win. Lycoming was headed to the national semifinals in a date with Hofstra, a school that was Division I in all sports besides football. Plus, they played on a turf field. Lycoming had played all its games on grass. It didn't even have turf shoes, so that was the first problem. Coach Girardi called up Penn State, and Joe Paterno saw to it that 100 pair of turf shoes made their way to Williamsport ahead of the team's trip to Long Island. Did we mention yet that the Flying Dutchman led the NCAA with an average of 47.2 points per game and had beaten both Fordham and Bucknell that season? But it was Lycoming that dominated all game, allowing 20 rushing yards and picking 3 passes. After Hofstra crawled within 3, Jim Burke's diving interception at the Hofstra 39 set up a 37-yard touchdown off a screen pass to Anthony Marion with 2:15 left. Lycoming won 20-10. The Warriors were headed to the Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl in Bradenton, Florida, in a showdown with Allegheny. Lycoming led 14-0 at halftime, but Allegheny tied the game in the fourth quarter and won with an overtime score. The 1990 Warriors arrived home to Williamsport the next day to a police escort and hundreds of fans in front of the Academic Center. In the end, 8 Warriors were named first-team All-MAC, and 14 earned all-conference honors. Dougherty, the MAC Player of the Year, offensive lineman Joe Gillespie, Beeler, and linebacker Bill Small earned All-American honors. 9 eventually were inducted in the Lycoming Athletics Hall of Fame. The 1990 team transformed Lycoming football into a known commodity. 6 more MAC titles followed in the 90s alone. A return trip to the Stagg Bowl came in 1997. When Coach Girardi retired in 2007, he was one of 17 coaches in NCAA history to win 250 in a career. In a school record, 12 of those 257 wins came in 1990, when the Warriors burst onto the national stage thanks to a defense that didn't allow more than 14 points in regulation during its final 11 games. The team featured nearly a quarter of the conference's all-star team. There's only one way to think of the 1990 Warriors 30 years later, as true champions.
$30 years, man. Holy moly.
30 years, isn't that something? 30 years and it's just like yesterday.
We could all play tomorrow, G. You know, look at this.
Hey, that's it.
Yeah.
I'll take you guys. Give me 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll challenge anybody. But I gotta have at least 4 weeks with you.
I did ask Coach Clark last week where he thought we would stand in today's world. How this team would have done, today.
Uh-huh.
And he thinks we'd have been a top tier team as usual.
Oh yeah. Yep, you got that right. I agree with Michael. I agree with him.
Some positions would have moved around. I mean, Hartman's looking like a guard.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Tom. Yeah.
This way, Anthony Marion would be on the bench. That'd be the new fullback.
Who is close to their playing weight?
Yeah.
I gotta say I'm up.
Yeah.
Pip, you're up.
You're up. Here's the good thing. I'm up 20%. Hartman's up about 40.
Hey, Bip, that's just more guys hitting slum with us. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is Darren on? Darren Kenny?
He's in the middle as usual.
He'd be the D-back now, Coach.
He's Alice out of the Brady Bunch.
Giz and Darren are playing cornerbacks.
A lot of those games that year were close, so
Yep.
the games where we didn't score a lot, the defense picked it up and vice versa. Thinking back, you would think a lot of those games were blowouts, but they weren't. But we played as a team, so we were such a great team together that we picked up for each other. That's the one thing I noticed from those seeing those scores, remembering that.
Yep, you got that right.
Widener and Wilkes were pretty scary. You think that we were all great that year, but they were down in the water.
I saw center down the shore from Widener, and he's like, "You owe me a beer." I said, "At Moore's Inlet." I'm like, well, "Who are you?" He said, I put you in a national championship game." He said.
Is Johnny? Anybody talk to Johnny Defoe?
I've seen him a couple of years when I go down to Hershey.
I remember speaking about the Blue Room. That brought back a memory where I remember we were all just sitting there in the locker room, and Defoe, we were all talking about the rankings and all that other kind of stuff, and somebody said, "You think we can? How far do you think we can get?" And Defoe's like, "I think we can go all the way." And I honestly, that was like the first time that I was like, I think we can go all the way too. And I was just like, he was the first one that said it, and that kind of resonated with me that year.
Well, that's a great feeling to have. The thing is, the expectation. You guys always had the expectation to win. You just did. No matter what.
I also think that those guys, if that said Huffs or didn't do all that jumping all around and calling us out on the sideline, that fired us all up, that really, everybody's like, now it's on.
Yep. That's right. And it became a street fight, and again, you guys won it. You won a street fight. Yes.
Can you guys talk about how cool and special Billy Small was? Because obviously Billy's watching all of us tonight, or he would be cutting this up big time. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Well, obviously he was a very talented kid. And the one thing you can remember about Billy is that he came up with big plays in a big time situation. He had that knack for doing that. And he was just one of those type of kids. And he could make the big play. But as I look up and down at the faces of you guys, we have a lot of guys who make big plays, big time plays. And believe it or not, I remember a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, but when you talk about Smalley, like it was funny because, you know, eyeball test, Smalley didn't pass the eyeball test of being the football guy, right? But gee, like you said, like, I mean, there was just something about, like, I mean, you know, if you watch him on the 40, you watch, you know, he's got the knee brace on, he's, you know, like, you know, the eyeball test, he's a wreck. But he did, he always came up with a big play. He really did. Like, it was just, you know, this interception and, you know, like, I mean, he really was like
John Kruk of football.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, Timmy. That's a good analogy, Pep. You know?
Yeah.
And it made him even better, too, was he was a big part of the whole chemistry of the team, too.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, the Smalley Christmas parties, the Smalley, like, everything. He brought a lot of us all together, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say, you'll be happy to know, G, that we're still thick as thieves. We don't get to see each other all the time, but when we do, it's like, it's like 30 years ago.
Exactly. And the thing is, you know, as a coach, you want to have at least a couple of guys, 2 to 3 guys that are leaders. My God, look at you guys. 2 or 3. I had 20. I mean, the leadership that you guys showed in different situations. My goodness gracious.
Speaking of Smalley, I'll tell you one thing. I played a lot of football in my life, and I can tell you that the hardest hit I ever took in my life was in practice. Coming across the middle, Smalley pretty much took me right off my feet and delivered the biggest blow I think I ever had in my whole career playing football. Which I can't believe I'm saying that because, like you said, Smalley don't look like no football player. Man, he drilled me.
Hey, Bud, I said at Smalley's memorial service, I said that. I said in high school, I'll never forget our freshman year, you know, first game of the season, probably maybe a scrimmage or preseason, just on the sidelines, you have the offense come up the field, just hearing the hits out there. We all looked around, we turned around, Smalley playing safety back then, number 20, just the hits that he was putting on these guys were unbelievable. I'll never forget it, man. That's the first experience I had with Smalley was those hits he was putting on guys. So
well, I felt one.
Yeah.
Needy as he was, like when it was time to, you know, it was go time, he was serious, you know, but funny guy and great player.
Oh.
All right.
Anyway, I wanted to ask you a question, Anthony.
What do you got?
The touchdown run that you had against Hofstra was on a, I won't even tell you what it's on. Do you remember the play?
It was a screen pass.
Yeah, but do you remember the number? Do you remember anything about it? I remember the exact.
What year was it? Was this in the 90s, like early 90s? I blocked
time was
that
so.
out. I don't remember the number.
Wasn't it double screen?
You don't remember? It was fullback cross screen left.
Okay.
And we put a guy out into the flat because we thought that they were going to come with a blitz, which they did. Gave us an extra blocker, which of course you needed to get in the freaking end zone.
Come on. I couldn't make that run right now if I had to.
It was a great play. And as you guys know, we were 30-point underdog in that ball game. But you know what? When it comes to the freaking heart that you guys had, it was unbelievable. I still remember just prior to that particular game when one of their top dogs ran right by our sideline, swinging his fingers at us and say, "It's going to be a long day, boys." And it was a long day for those suckers. It was a long day for them because I had better guys.
Very good.
I had freaking better men than they had.
Yeah, there was a little brawl before the day before the game there too, if I recall.
There was yeah, a little bit. But
Probably started by Beals or somebody like that, you know.
It was Defoe, wasn't it? It was Defoe, Doc.
Yeah, it was Defoe. That's right. Yeah.
Did you say it was Beals?
Hey, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. You know that.
I put him in safety.
That's right. We had to put Beals at safety. He didn't want to move to safety that day. But I said, "Beals, you got to do it, man."
Key plays.
And he made some great key plays. But that's the one thing about you guys. No matter what, whatever it took to win, you were going to do it. You were going to do it. And man, oh man, it's just amazing what you guys have accomplished. And
that's the first time we lost. The W&J lost out near the field.
yeah, and the W&J game was another thing. We were underdogs in both of those games. But you can never bet against our guys. Never. And you guys proved that. Yeah.
My favorite memory of the hospital after that game, he's at one of the halls, and everybody that walked by him, he grabs them. Did you hear? He said it was 4th and 10. Why, he says, "Kid, take me to the championship." He said, "Wise, I'm only one man." He said, "But Perky, you are the man." "Okay, Wise, I'll see what I can do." He goes, "Interception, we're going to the Stagg Bowl." The next person walks over. "Do you hear what happened?" He must have said it to 40 people in a row.
That's a good call, Beb. I had forgotten that one. That was a good one.
It was classic. The whole hall. Anybody came near. "Did you hear?"
Did you hear the news, huh? Oh, man.
The other question for you, G, is so what would you do different for you and Wise? You had to replay the last game over again. What would you change?
Geez, I'm not sure. I try not to second guess myself at all. But obviously, being ahead, being ahead 14-zip, and of course we had a few things go wrong. We had some jumping off sides and stuff like that. I think Doc remembers that.
It wasn't me this time. It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you. You're right. It wasn't you. But Dean, that's a great question. Would I have done anything differently? Probably not. Probably not. I thought we were extremely well prepared. I always put my money on my guys, to be honest with you. Especially when it comes down to a close game. I've probably told you guys 100 times, there's times in a game that I wanted us to get into a street fight. Now, not a street fight, but I wanted that kind of a game because I knew so many of my guys had that in their background. They were just so freaking tough and hard. You guys didn't care what it was out at practice. You didn't care if, we didn't have turf back in those days. You had a terrible locker room and all that other stuff, but you know what? You guys didn't care. You did not care. Because all you wanted to do was win, and win for each other. And I can never, ever thank you and the guys enough, ever, for what you've done.
Thanks to you.
Never.
Thanks to you.
Hey.
Hey, Jay.
Yeah.
What team's better, 85 or us?
I was waiting for that question. You got it, Beals.
Tonight it's the 1990 team.
Beals, you weren't there, but we rectified this a couple years ago at G's retirement. We told them why we were better because Rantuccio was their freaking nose guard and he's 3'6".
85 team was good, but we put the school on the map. End of story.
Story.
Beals, he didn't answer your question, buddy.
He's not going.
There were two great football teams, let's put it that way. Two great football teams with a lot of unbelievable players, and the talent was incredible. What can I say? The talent was incredible. The legacy that you guys have left. What do you say about that? I mean, it's just, undefeated. Played in the national championship game. And 30 years later, you still remember how it was. And never, ever forget that feeling, ever. Because your legacy is socked in forever. You guys will be forever known as the team that played for the national championship and brought such glory and honor to our football program at Lycoming. I love all you guys.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, G.
Love you too, G.
Love you too.
Hey, Bills, that answers your question now, right?